I'm ready, my son.
The usual, Father.
God bless you.
You're the worst prompter we've ever had. You're
Fired.
fired!
Thank you very much, and good evening, and welcome to the show. A question that I'm continually asked is, what is my ambition? And the funny thing about having an ambition, as soon as you have an ambition, another ambition comes. And my ambition is to be able to earn enough money to pay the taxes that I wouldn't have to pay if I hadn't realized my ambition in the first place. And the question people ask me, why do I twitch when I sit here? Why do I do this and things like that? Because sitting under the lights, after a while, I get terribly hot, and everything begins to ride up. I'm not joking you. So when I'm doing that, I'm not tucking my shirt down. I'm trying to push my knickers back into the place. The Irish, as a nation, people, we have a different attitude to life than the English. For example, you get the Englishman driving in Ireland in a long car, and he stops a fellow who's sitting on the fence, and he said, "Excuse me, could you tell me where Tubbercurry is?" And he said, "Ah, sir, it's about 12 miles down the road. But in a car that long, you should be able to do it in about 9 miles. And the Englishman said, "What do you do?" He said, "What do you mean, sir? What do I do?" He said, "What's your job?" He said, "I don't have a job." He said, "You mean you don't work?" He said, "I don't work, sir." He said, "You mean you do nothing?" He said, "I do nothing, sir." He said, "You should work. You should get off your bottom and work." He said, "Why?" He said, "So you would get a lot of money." He said, "What would I do with the money?" He said, "You would save it." He said, "What would I do if I saved it?" He said, "You would save it, and when you're 65, you would retire. And then you'd have all that money." He said, "What would I do?" He said, "You do nothing." He said, "I'm doing nothing now." You get the two fellows talking, and one says, where's Sean? I haven't seen him for years." "Ah," he said, "well, he was walking down the road and he saw a big sign which says, 'Drink Canada Dry,' so we went." I was in a bar. I don't often go into bars, but I was in a bar. And I said to a fellow, I said, "How do you know when you're drunk?" He said, "I don't remember." I said, "Well, how do you know when you're getting drunk?" He said, when you and your friend become 4 people." I said, "I'm by myself." You get a drunk driving across a zebra, not driving, walking across a zebra crossing. And all of a sudden a car comes around the corner, right into him. He picks himself off the ground. A woman leaps out of the car and she says, "Are you all right?" He said, "Yeah, I'm all right. Forget about it. It's okay." Well, next day he's walking across the same zebra crossing. Same car, same woman. "Are you all right?" He said, I'm okay. Third day, walking across the same car, same woman. Right into him again. He picks him up. He said, "Oh, all right there. I'm okay, lady. I just want to know, what do you do when I'm not here?" You get a drunk. New Year's Eve, Trafalgar Square. Walks up to one of the lions and he says, "Dougie." "Hi, Dougie. Dougie, I got a sticky, Dougie. Go get the sticky. Dougie." Throws the stick into the pond. The lion doesn't move. "Very disobedient dog." And he gets into the pond and he's watching around in the shallow end looking for the stick. And he looks up and there's Nelson looking down at him. And he says, "Don't jump! It's the shallow end!" I get a drunk walking by the post office tower. There's a very big crowd gathered around the bottom. And he pushes his way through the crowd and he says, what's going on here?" And the fellow steps out and he said, I am what is known as a human fly. I am going to climb to the top of this building on the outside with my bare fingers, no aids whatsoever. And the young said, well, I am with you. Where you go, I'll join you. And the human fly commences to climb. And 2 minutes right behind him, the drunk. The human fly gets to the top. 2 seconds later, right behind him, the drunk. So what are you going to do now? He said, I'm going to jump off. He said, well, I am with you. And the human fly jumps off, and halfway down he goes, a miniature parachute. And the drunk goes, shoom, right past him. Looks up and says, chicken! Me knickers are coming up again. The great thing about life is that it offers to man a continual challenge. And if life doesn't offer man challenge, man will make one for himself. Today we're perhaps more affluent than we've ever been in man's history. And the strange thing about man, no matter what he has or how much of it, he wants more. And if you think it's bad nowadays, what do you think it's going to be like in about 50 years' time? Can you imagine the year 2020 and the shop steward talking to his members? And he said, all right, lads, I've had a chat with the management. They've agreed to our demands. A rise of £35 a week. Bringing our basic weekly wage to £352 per week. One condition, we got to work on a Wednesday. And a voice from the back said, what, every bleeding Wednesday? But if we have all this leisure, what are we going to do with it? Fishing provides an outlet for 3 of man's basic needs. It fulfills his need to relax, fulfills his need to hunt, and it fulfills his need to tell bigger lies than anybody else. You get the lady who turns to her husband. She said, how many fish did you catch last week? He said, 6. She said, I thought so. That fishmonger charges for 8. I get a one-armed fisherman who said, I caught a fish. Man has many ways of occupying his leisure time. Fishing is but one of them.
told you that 1,000 times. I said, if I've told you that once, I've told you that 1,000 times. Oh, I got one of my heads. I didn't have a head now since you started. You do it on purpose, don't you? You know something going on and on and on gets off the nerves, don't you, Henry, eh? Oh, but you never think of me. Don't even know I'm here. Every evening it's the same. You come home, gobble your tea, and then it starts, doesn't it? Saw, hammer, hammer. Oh, not a minute's peace, not a moment's quiet. Oh, just what a wife needs after a long, miserable day all on my own with no one to talk to. I wouldn't mind if you got some results from all this woodwork, but you don't. Oh, and you've never made anything for me, have you? Not anything for me. In all the years we've been married, you've never made anything for me. Do you know, I could put up with all this noise if it was something specially for me.
But it is something especially for you, my...
There's no doubt that women are basically different than men. I don't mean physically, I mean mentally. They have a completely different outlook to men. For example, you get the man talking to a very beautiful lady and he said, I think you're rather beautiful. And I'm going to buy you a drink. She said, you're not. And he said, when you finish that drink, I'm going to buy you another drink. She said, you are not. And he said, I'm going to take you out to a large champagne supper. She said, you are not. And he said, I'm going to take you dancing. She said, you are not. He said, I'm going to take you back to my apartment, soft light, sweet music, nightcaps, and I'm going to make love to you. She said, you are not. And he said, I am not going to take any precautions. She said, you will. I tell you, the men in the room tonight, I'll tell you the thing, never lie to a woman. Always tell her the truth. You'll never get away with lies. Walk in and say, I've been with a girl. I was in a bar, and there was a mutual attraction, and it all happened, and we went home, and I spent the night with her. And she will say, don't be silly, darling, I knew you've been playing poker with your friends all night. And never creep in at home if you're late. Never, ever creep in. Don't kind of drive the car up quietly, put the key in, take your shoes off, creep up the stairs, turn the bedroom door. As soon as you turn that door on, the light on, you're in trouble. Where have you been? Drive the car up at about 90 miles an hour. Slam the door, boom. Open the front door, slam it, boom. Go up the stairs, boom, 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 boom. Open the bedroom door, slam it open. Turn all the lights on. Look at her and say, you look more seductive than you've ever looked in your life. And I guarantee you, all you'll hear is... There's no doubt that women are more logical than men. They're much more determined to have their own way.
Oh, that tap. Drip, drip, drip. Oh, it is no good. I cannot sleep. That dripping tap is driving me insane. Oh, husband, do something.
What?
Oh.
Okay. Oh. You're very lucky. My wife not able to sleep, dripping tap. You get yours tomorrow.
Most unusual.
Yeah.
Ah!
I always said he'd be late for his own funeral. Dear John, I've been bad to you. I've been unfaithful. I can't help it. I need other men. I know that you love me. I know that you're disappointed in me. But I feel one of us should have the chance to start all over again. So I'm going to end it all. Goodbye, darling.
Good book says, as you sow, so shall you reap. And as you gathered, I've got a garden of weeds. If you're good in life, you'll go to heaven. If you go to heaven, they'll give you wings and a harp, which to me is hell because I can't stand heights in the harp music. God. And an Irishman dies, go to heaven, St. Peter says, where do you come from? He said, Ireland. He said, well, not make us Jew for one. The fellow dies, and St. Peter said to him, he said, what did you do in life? He said, I was a miser. I hoarded all my money. I was a miser. I used to count it gleefully every night. And St. Peter said, did you ever do a kind act? He said, yes. Once. I gave a penny to a blind boy. Can I come in? And St. Peter said, hang on a second. Gabriel! There's a miser here. He wants to come in. He said he gave him a penny to a blind boy once. What'll I do? And Gabriel says, give him tuppence and tell him to go to hell. Regardless of whether there is a God, whether there is a heaven, whether there is a hell, I'm a believer in the old adage that if you're good, you'll be rewarded. If you're bad, you'll be punished. I'm afraid this is going to hurt me more than it will hurt you.
Well, Sheriff, today marks the day you've been in our town 1 whole year. Ain't that right? 1 whole year. And before you come to our town, it was full of a sinning and a gambling and a drinking and a raping of women. And you sure put a stop to all that. So in recognition of what you done, me and the townsfolk got together and we planned a little surprise for you.
Well, I'll be hanged.
You guessed.
Before we shoot you, would you like a last request?
You mean I have a last request?
Sure, everybody has a last request.
I would like a woman.
Okay. Señorita.
You must have been joking. Hey, fellows! Fire!
Wait! You're reprieved! A reprieve from His Majesty! You're free!
A king's pardon! I'm free! I'm free! I'm free! Adios, el presidente. Bring that. The big boom is going to get a big bang.
Where's my plunger?
The plunger? I thought you said bring the dynamite.
Something very clean about an explosion. The thing that everybody in life looks for, searches for, and needs is security. Security to a dog is a good master. Security to a good master is a good mistress. Security to a mistress is a bank manager in the cupboard. Security actually comes in many different forms. Security to an airline pilot is a second pilot. Security to a second pilot is a navigator. Security to the navigator is knowing that he's the only person on the plane with a parachute. Security to a jockey is a safe seat. Security to a politician is a safe seat. Security to Mr. Heath's policy is Mr. Wilson's policy. Security to Rolls-Royce, security to a child is a thumb or something warm and cuddly.
And so the beautiful princess married the prince, and they lived happily ever after. Oh, wasn't that a lovely story? Oh, it's time to tuck you up now, dear. You've got your water and your nightlight. Is that all right? What's that? Oh, you want your bunny. Oh, you want cuddles with your bunny. All right, dear. Granny will get it. You do like cuddles with your bunny.
And here are some of my favorite bedtime stories.
Ah! Oh, God! Oh, no! Oh, don't let me! Oh, please, God, don't! No, I won't! I can't stop! I must!
Well, that's better.
Tarzan!
I say thank you. But who are you?
Me Tarzan, me lord of all jungle.
But you saved my life.
Me no save life. Me save you from ceremony of fertility rites.
What does that mean?
That mean every member of tribe make love to you.
Well, I wish you'd mind your own business.
Where this arrow lands, that is the place to bury me.
Right, Robin? You like to try that again, Robin?
Yeah, you see, we lost sight of that one, you see, Robin.
That's it, yeah. Once again, Robin, just for luck. All right, Holmes. When did you see through my disguise?
Not for some time. You're a clever swine, Moriarty. Your kidnapping and subsequent impersonation of my dear friend, Dr. Watson, had me completely fooled.
God, Holmes, what gave me away? Well, I thought my disguise was perfect, well, even down to my voice.
There is no doubt, Moriarty, that you are a rogue and a scoundrel. You also have a brilliant criminal mind. But like all criminals, you make one mistake.
What was that?
A small matter of detail. Take him away. Let us now take a second look at man accepting his man-made challenge. History is full of legends. There's the legend of Alfred burning the cakes. There's the legend of Harold getting the arrow in the eye. There's the legend of William Tell shooting the apple off his son's head. If at first you don't succeed, try again. These immortal words are attributed to Robert Bruce, King of Scotland. And legend has it that this basic philosophy was inspired by an ordinary, common-day spider. But was it? I, Robert Bruce, King of Scotland, defeated twice by the English. I must think of a plan. I must think of a plan. I must think. Are you supposed to concentrate with a place full of bloody insects? Fear not, my son. I am the greatest shot in Switzerland.
My husband.
My Lady Rowena.
What news?
Tomorrow I leave England with King Richard to fight in the Holy Wars. He passes by at dawn. I join him then.
And this is our last night together?
Our last night together.
Perhaps forever. Oh, one last night of love.
Rowena.
William.
Rowena.
William.
Rowena.
My lord, the king awaits.
The oldest profession in the world is soldiering. I don't know who you are, sir, but you've got a filthy mind. They say that old soldiers never die, they just fade away. That's ridiculous. I've never heard of an old soldier. I've heard of old brigadiers, old generals, old field marshals, but I've never heard of an old soldier. And you get the chap, young officer, talking to his troops, and then, "We are going to go over the top at 2200 hours. And when we go over the top and meet the enemy, I'm afraid that some of us are going to be loose arms and leggeds and chunky baggies deadies. But I want you to remember, whatever happens here today, chaps, I am not afraid." The sergeant steps out and he says, "What is that, sir?" I said, "I'm not going." We get the sarcastic sergeant talking to a new recruit. And he said, Do you realize that you are the only one out of 35 men who are out of step? Every one of them is out of step except you." He said, "Well, don't tell me, tell them. They're the people." I get the chap talking to the soldiers before the offensive. And he said, I want you to remember that we are up against far superior odds today, but I also want you to remember that we are the British Army. We have defeated far greater forces than we will meet today. I would hazard a guess to say that we are outnumbered today approximately 4-1. But I want you to remember that we are the British Army. And it all happens. Hell breaks loose. Cannons, guns, shells, aeroplanes, tanks. And the officer is dashing from one point to another, and there's a little Irish soldier leaning up against a tree having a smoke. He said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm smoking, sir." He said, "I know you're smoking. Why aren't you in the battle?" He said, "I've killed my 4. But there was a time when opposing armies would line up against one another. And under a flag of truce, the opposing officers would meet and argue as to which army was about to fire the first shot, which you must admit is a very civilized way of doing things. I mean, if we're going to kill people, there's no need to do it like animals. There is no such fright, no such fear as sounds of war upon the ear.
I don't like it, Sergeant. Oh, don't you, sir? I'll change it.
Do you know something, Sergeant?
What's that, sir?
I have a strange feeling this next shell has my name on it.
Don't be ridiculous, sir. Beg pardon, sir, but what is your name?
Chumley, Carruthers, Whittenshaw.
Oh, as I thought so. Well, you see, there isn't room. No, this one is 687-4362, G. Smith, Sergeant. Wait a minute. That's me!
Well, here we are again, Sergeant.
Sir.
This one is quite safe as long as it keeps ticking.
I see, sir. It stopped ticking, sir.
Yeah. As you see, gentlemen, we are here. And the enemy are there. If there is an enemy offensive, I expect his tanks to break through right here. Modern warfare is man battling against man in vast numbers. But the people of the American West still believe that a man's private battles are fought by he and he alone. Howdy, stranger.
Howdy. You the sheriff?
Yep.
You know who I am?
Nope.
My name's Dan McGraw.
Howdy, Dan McGraw.
You remember Archie McGraw?
Yep.
He's my brother, and you beat him up.
Yep.
You know what I'm gonna do?
Nope.
I'm gonna give you the greatest horse whipping you ever had.
You're gonna do what?
I said I'm gonna give you the greatest horse whipping you ever had.
Thomas? Meanwhile, back at the cannon. That was a bit hard to do, that one. Yeah, but the clown got into a cannon, got fired off, and landed in the House of Parliament. They threw him out because they said there was enough clowns there already. Do you realize that Beethoven, his manservant, was an Englishman? And one day he said to Beethoven, he said, "Maestro Beethoven, I am sick and tired of your tantrums. I am sick and tired of you tearing up your music and kicking the piano. I am leaving your employment." And Beethoven said, "Eh?" He said, "I am leaving your employment." And Beethoven said, "You cannot leave my employment. You have been the inspiration behind some of my greatest pieces of music." And the manservant said, "Don't make me laugh." It's a funny thing, actually, by helping people. I've got a very good friend of mine who was a priest. He was, but he's a nice one. And he told me a true story. From Dublin, they run excursions to the Isle of Man. And these two fellows went over there on a day excursion. And they were in a bar, and they met another Dublin fellow, and they got talking about Dublin, and they chatted on. They went off to another bar and had a few more drinks. Finished up in a club, had a few more drinks, the whole thing. Got back to the ship. And the fellow that they'd met in the Isle of Man is stoned out of his mind. He goes fast asleep. And they get back to Dublin, and they go through his pockets to find out who he is. It's about 3 o'clock in the morning. And they find out it's a fellow called Michael Kelly. And he lives in Gleeson Street. So they go to Gleeson Street. This fellow sagged over the arm. Knock on the door, and about 2 minutes later, a window opens up, and a woman leans out. She says, "What do you want? What do you want at 3:30 in the morning?" And they said, "We have your son Michael here." She said, "You can't have me son. He's on his honeymoon in the Isle of Man." In doing a show like this, we do various sketches and various costumes. And without realizing it, you can get rather fond of one particular part. An old character that I'm very fond of is a man that we introduced in the earlier shows. You might remember him. James, the faithful retainer.
Here we are. There we are, my young master. Sit down there, nice, comfortable. Young master. Nigh on 70 years I served your grandfather, and I hope to be able to serve the same for you. Now, there we are. A nice cup of cocoa. I'll just go and repair your room. The young master. Young blood in the house. Young man. Just like his grandpa. Here we are. Your room's ready, young master.
Tonight, and may your God go with you.
More comedy with Mock the Week at 11:15. Ice hockey in cars and blasting a small saloon off a ski jump. Great stuff. It's Top Gear Winter Olympics special next on BBC Two. Do not go anywhere.